Okay, so we're at the halfway point of season 6 right now, and the rest of the episodes aren't dropping until later, which means we've got time to sit here and think about what's actually gonna happen by the end of this season. I've been putting together predictions, and honestly, some of these feel pretty solid. Like, I think I know where the writers are taking this whole thing. The biggest focus this season has obviously been Marinette and Adrien finally being together as a couple. They're officially dating now, and so many of their scenes have been about them supporting each other and getting closer, but here's the thing, there's been a lot of negative discussion in the show about them sticking together. There's pressure on their relationship, you can feel it building, and the writers are clearly setting up some kind of dramatic moment. So my first prediction is that Marinette and Adrien's relationship is going to face some problems soon. Things have been way too perfect between them, and that usually doesn't last. But here's the important part. I don't think they're actually going to break up, at least not this season. I've seen a lot of fans saying Adrienette is ending, but honestly, the show took so long to finally put them together. I really don't believe they'll break them up in the very first season where they're actually dating. Maybe later, sure. But for now, Adrienette isn't going anywhere. I do think we're gonna get more character development for both of them individually though. Mainly, I think Adrien's gonna get a job. He quit modeling, right, and his dad's no longer around to run the Agresti business, so I think Adrien will start working on his own. Not just because the family business is falling apart, but also because he wants to feel normal, you know. Maybe he'll notice how Marinette and all his other friends have part-time jobs, and Natalie will probably encourage him to find work because it'd be good for him. It could be a whole episode where Adrien tries out different places and none of them really feel right. If I had to guess where he'd end up, I'd say working for Andre scooping ice cream, or maybe holding one of those advertising signs for the cart. Later on, we might even see him in some embarrassing work outfit that Marinette would think is adorable, because of course she would. Let's talk about Ladybug and the other Miraculous holders for a second. This season has been special because all the Miraculous are out in the field now. All the holders are ready to go, which makes it super easy for Ladybug to call on whoever she needs at any moment. But this also increases the chance of big mistakes happening. So I think someone's gonna lose a Miraculous, and honestly it's happened multiple times before, and since there are way more holders now and some of them are less careful, someone's bound to slip up. This might only last for a short time, maybe just one full episode, but I really think it's going to happen. If I had to guess who might lose their Miraculous, my pick would be Zoe. I think we're going to see Queen Bee return, either because of the Miraculous itself or through acclimatization. It feels possible that Chloe could come back to Paris and steal Zoe's Miraculous when she's not paying attention, just to make a big comeback as Queen Bee. Then Ladybug and Cat Noir would have to fight Queen Bee again to get the Miraculous back. Giving Chloe an episode like this would also move her character forward, especially since so many fans want the writers to give her a redemption arc. Another big story point that's been around since the very start of the show is that Ladybug and Cat Noir don't know each other's identities. A lot of fans are expecting a big reveal to happen soon, but honestly, I don't think that's a good idea right now. The show relies on these big moments to keep the tension alive. And besides the identity reveal, the main focus was always the will they, won't they story between Adrien and Marinette. This season already gave us that, so adding another huge reveal on top of it would just be too much for one season. I predict there won't be any secret identity reveals this season. Honestly, I hope Ladybug and Cat Noir never reveal their identities to each other until the very end of the entire show. We don't really need them to know who each other are anymore because the love triangle thing was the only reason we wanted them to know in the first place. Since Marinette and Adrien are dating now, what would it honestly change? They'd still be together, they'd still be superheroes, and all that would happen is most of the audience would lose interest. If they want to rebuild tension around their identities, Marinette and Adrien would need to break up first. Ladybug and Cat Noir would need to fall in love the same way the show flipped the triangle on us back in season 5. Remember when Marinette was crushing on Cat Noir, and Adrien started having feelings for Marinette as himself? It'd be like that, but instead of Marinette and Adrien dating, it would be Ladybug and Cat Noir dating while still not knowing who the other really is. Something really big would have to happen to cause Adrienette to split for that to work. This way, if their identities actually got revealed, it could completely destroy their relationship, but that's not happening this season. We just got them together. The show is not gonna speedrun a breakup, they're gonna milk this couple for everything they're worth. Okay, I lied about thinking there won't be any identity reveals because I actually think Adrien is gonna reveal to Nino that he's Cat Noir. Alia has known that Marinette is Ladybug for the longest time now, and it made sense, but no one really special knows who Adrien is, and for the sake of symmetry, I think Mino's gonna figure it out. Also, since Mino and Alia are dating, and they hate lying to each other, I think Mino will eventually tell Alia about it. This will create tension because they'll want to help their friends, but without revealing that they know their true identities, and it gets complicated, but this is Miraculous. What did you expect? Now that Hawkmoth is gone, we've seen the rise of a new butterfly villain, Chrysalis. Even though we already knew who Chrysalis was, I thought the show was gonna wait until the end of the season to reveal it was Lila, but they didn't. Even though we know who the villain is, there's still plenty we don't know. Chrysalis is a very different villain than Hawkmoth, even though they use the same Miraculous, and because of this, I think the show's gonna go in a different direction and actually reveal to the characters that Lila is Chrysalis. Since we already know her identity, there's no point keeping it secret from the rest of the characters. The thing that made Hawkmoth's secret identity interesting was that he was actually Catmore's father. Since Lila doesn't have that same secret connection, there really isn't any reason to keep her true identity in suspense. On the topic of reveals, Ladybug's secret about Hawkmoth's identity is gonna come out. Lila's been keeping a close eye on Ladybug, and while she doesn't know for sure if she's Marinette, it's clear she knows that Ladybug is lying about something. This could be the big, suspenseful moment at the end of the season, and I'm also predicting we're gonna be left on a cliffhanger, so this could be the last thing we see. Lila could reveal to the world that Ladybug knew who Hawkmoth was all along and said nothing. It'd be like that scene at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home, but with Gabriel's identity getting exposed. I've got a few more predictions about Lila. We're gonna learn more about her past, maybe even get a full backstory episode. There's so much we don't know about her despite her being a Season 1 character. So many questions about where she actually came from, who her parents are, what that weird light was at the end of Season 5, none of it's been answered, and I think now is the perfect time. It's also likely that Chrysalis will get an upgrade to her powers. We already know she learned to make an anti-Akuma that takes away the powers of other holders, so I think she's bound to get even stronger as the show goes on. The last thing I want to predict when it comes to Chrysalis is simple: she's finally gonna get a transformation sequence. These sequences used to be a staple of the show, but they've become super rare this season. We've seen her transform on screen, but I want to see an original style version like the classic ones. Ladybug and Catmore aren't the only focus of the show anymore. This season has really branched out its characters and given spotlight to new or returning cast members, which is why I think characters like Argus and Ondine are going to become even more important as the season goes on. If new Miraculous are discovered, which I expect at least one to be, we could be looking at brand new holders. One character who's gotten way more spotlight than the others is Zoe. I'll admit I hated Zoe when she was first introduced, like I've always seen her as Chloe's replacement, and the fact that the show messed up Chloe so badly I ended up taking all my anger out on her sister. There's other reasons I wasn't a fan of Zoe, but I'll save that for another day because Zoe has actually become a pretty decently written character that I've come to respect. There's this mystery about Zoe's past that keeps getting teased by these new bullies at school, and it's got me pretty interested, so we're likely gonna get more Zoe backstory by the end of the season too. Let me rush through some simple predictions about certain episode topics I think we're gonna get before I make my final big predictions. First, there's gonna be a Zoe and Sabrina episode with Zoe helping Sabrina come out of her shell more. A Jalika-centered episode because Rufflick felt more like a Rose plot. And Nina-focused episode since we haven't gotten to see much of him recently. An episode where they get a new teacher since Miss Bustier left to become the city's mayor, and an episode about Marinette's parents or grandparents. That last one is especially interesting because this season has had a certain theme going on about parents and their kids. It's hard to tell if it's intentional since the episodes are being released out of order, but I think there's enough of a pattern that we can track it. Now onto my final predictions, and I saved these for last because they're honestly pretty big and the chance of them happening could be slim. Okay, so I think we're gonna get another appearance from none other than Thomas Struck himself. Maybe that's not the big prediction you were hoping for, but I do think it's gonna happen. He's put himself in the show multiple times already. I doubt he can help himself at this point. On to my actual final prediction, and this one's serious because I think we're gonna see the rise of a new villain like none we've ever seen before. Someone who's close to Ladybug and would be the last person she'd expect to turn on her. I think Luka is gonna be after the Ladybug Miraculous, and this all comes from that scene on the beach. We clearly see there's something troubling him, and his reaction to Ladybug telling her secret about Gabriel seemed to be the last straw that caused him to snap. He's the only character who knows the identities of both Ladybug and Cat Noir, and I think after he learns that Marinette has been lying to the world, he's gonna go after her Miraculous. But I don't think he's gonna be acting out of selfish intentions like Lila and Gabriel did. He'll be more like an anti-hero doing everything in his power to do what he thinks is necessary and right. He also still has feelings for Marinette, so there's no chance he's gonna reveal her identity to the world or do anything that would end up actually hurting her. Look, these are some pretty big predictions for this season. I seriously doubt all of them are gonna come true, like the chances of that happening are basically zero, but there's a good chance some of them will, so we'll just have to wait and see. You'll have to come back after season 6 is finished and check if I got any of these right because I'm curious too. What are your predictions that I didn't mention here? Do you think I was completely off with some of mine? Because I'd love to hear what you think is actually gonna go down in the second half of this season.